Hello everyone, I'm Food for Dogs, and today I want to talk about Heroland. It is a game I got recently, maybe a couple of months ago, and it came in a box called the Noble Edition. And that was how my retailer had it available. It didn't even come as an ordinary standard edition, just in this box. And I was surprised to find quite a few goodies inside, which is always nice and appreciated. It comes with a soundtrack, and I will switch that on right now. Just a second. And it comes with a cute pouch with some of the critters. And a punch-out card for various characters that you can put up on a little stand. Not quite sure, it's supposed to be a game, but I'm not quite sure I would go for that. Anyway, that shows you pretty much what the characters in the game are like. They're just like cardboard cutouts. And they've included a very large and well-produced leaflet. It's got a map on the back. I'll just fold that over quickly. And that shows you the island with all the facilities. But at the front, there's quite a bit of sort of humorous description about the game, phrased in the style of the game script. But I'm here today not to talk so much about the contents of this particular edition, but because I want to give you my first impression of the game. I am currently in chapter 4, so I think I've played enough to be able to give you a pretty good overview, but really what it's about is my personal reaction to the game. When I bought the game, I had hoped for what it was generally purported to be, a very funny, light-hearted game with cute characters and a simple but fun combat system. And I thought, well, that sounds great for relaxation and in between playing. That's just the sort of thing I often love. So I went in hoping for some laughs and some entertainment and some fun times. So I'll be showing you some gameplay now, and will give you my comments about what I found. The game starts with introducing us to our hero, Lucky, who, like so many others, journeys to Heroland in hope of employment and a better future for himself and his family. We soon learn about the nefarious practices and poor work conditions at the RPG theme park, but this doesn't put Lucky off. He hasn't got much choice. Heroland was developed by one of my favorite niche studios, For You. They have published titles in the West such as The Legend of Legacy and The Alliance Alive, The Caligula Effect, Lost Dimension, and most recently Crystar. Heroland had a developer dream team with contributors who worked on Mother 3, Legend of Mana, Fantasy Life, and Shin Megami Tensei. It's understandable that I was pretty excited for this game. The game delights in over-the-top scenarios of an exploitative environment where the first thing that happens to Lucky is a set-up accident with a horribly expensive vase, which he'll have to pay off via his wages for, well, let's just say Lucky will be growing old at Heroland, remunerating the company for this mysterious accident. I can give you my first impressions, having completed 3 chapters. That's roughly a third of the game's story. So what about the story? Apart from what I mentioned about Lucky at the beginning, I can't really tell you much more. There is constant talk of a Dark Lord, so it wouldn't be a wild guess to assume he'll turn up near the end, maybe as final boss. Lucky seems to be a device to herd you through the dungeons. The day-to-day banter and happenings revolve around the various individuals at the park. Let's have a look at some scenes of what they get up to. Lucky is the tour guide for the theme park dungeons. It's his job to present a fantasy world to his clients. Except he is the silent type, and his sidekick Lua is never short of a word in edgeways. This is a typical scene, and it's obviously meant to be humorous. The script delights in puns that, to my mind, will find an audience in the younger age group, maybe 9 to 12. But for me, all this incessant, wordy, circuitous banter ended up quickly becoming very tiresome. And no, you cannot skip dialogue sequences. Favorite gamer topics, whether it's grinding or censorship, are aired constantly. Since the characters are living the gamer's life in a gaming theme park, discussing the dungeon design while traversing a dungeon, you could say Heroland has opted for meta-humor in a big way. If this tickles your funny bone and you can't get enough of it, then Heroland could well be the game for you. For me, personally, the humour fell flat faster than the cardboard enemies keeling over when defeated. So, if the story and humour didn't grab me, maybe the combat did. After all, that's the meat and potatoes of any RPG. Heroland is more of a management RPG, in that you don't fight directly. As the guide, Lucky, you can only interrupt the flow of battle whenever your assistance meter has filled up to administer support such as healing and buffing. This single feature was, I have to admit, the biggest turn-off for me. I'm a hands-on dungeon crawler. I like to decide every step, every blow of a battle. Here, the character's AI, which I admit works very well, is the dominant aspect of combat, with Lucky in a supporting role. The tongue-in-cheek brochure for Heroland promises, quote, RPG experience without the grind. This is, of course, a cruel joke, for you will have to put in a fair amount of grinding side quest dungeons, which are boringly dungeons you have already visited. The need to grind, and thus pad out the game quite shamelessly, is enforced simply by adding a large pool of party members to choose from, and making most of them mandatory for certain main dungeons. In other words, you need to level up those poor sops just to be able to proceed through the game. Most of them I don't even recognize as named characters. They're simply mage with pink hair or clown healer to me. The developers decided to give the Heroland inventory system the appearance of a bit more depth by offering items for status ailments and so-called capsules and comics as minor aids during battle. There's also an equipment degrading mechanic and items to inhibit this. I found all these to be tedious to use and not really required to get through dungeons. A new weapon is cheap enough to purchase, and I found it easiest to stick to the two basics, healing and guarding, when using the precious assistance meter. Heroland is a very lightweight RPG that simply doesn't warrant this extra padding of characters and items. I have made available a companion video with commentary of one complete dungeon run in Chapter 4, so for those of you interested in Heroland, it will give you a better idea of the flow of the game. You'll see combat as well as a few more character scenes. Note some of them I had to edit a bit to eliminate spoilers. Finally, a comment about sound and graphics. I know the cutout characters look appealing in the Noble Edition promotional material I showed you at the beginning. However, they are pixel graphics characters, and blown up on a TV screen, minus 50 inches, they look blurry and frankly not that great. The soundtrack, on the other hand, is nice, with some of the recurring tunes quite earwormy. The constant use during dialogue of bleepy or whoa sounds reminiscent of old, worn-out audio tapes does, though, outstay its welcome quickly. Which really sums up my feelings about Heroland, that it looks cute, inviting and light-hearted on the outside, but has far too soon reached its end of shelf life with me. Will I finish the game? I can't say. I sometimes pop in and play one dungeon, but that's it. Any more would feel like a chore, like living out Lucky's deplorable life of indentured servitude. I'm sure there's a happy ending for Lucky, and the theme park exploiters will get their comeuppance. I'll be sure to let you know if I ever see it. So that was Heroland, my personal impression of the game. Obviously, as you can tell, it wasn't quite what I had hoped for. These things happen, I suppose. I hope you found it a little bit useful, but I need to emphasize again that this is purely my personal reaction to the game, and you may well come to a very different conclusion, or you may well love the game. I always accept that people respond very, very differently, particularly where humour is concerned. Humour is such a very personal thing, and what one person finds funny, another one finds it falls flat. Anyway, those were my thoughts for what it's worth. Thank you very much for watching. Keep well. I'm Food for Dogs. Bye-bye.